For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. 30 minutes of time-wasting fun is coming your way. And speaking of time-wasting, it's awards show season, and every year I share my thoughts every year, and not just because I'm an avid, TV watcher, movie watcher, critic, whatever. I've been an entertainment correspondent and host for 20 years, so I have actually been to these award shows. I've covered the red carpets. I've interviewed hundreds of celebrities. In fact, on the studio wall behind me, there are dozens, I don't know, we'd have to count, but there are literally dozens and dozens of pictures of me on red carpets and press badges and everything. So I have thoughts when it comes to award show season, and my thoughts have changed over the years. Because in the moment when I was covering them back, I started covering them in 2009, and then 2010 and 11, I was living in Canada still, but I was flying back and forth to Los Angeles, probably depending on the time of year. So you have award show season at the beginning of the year, and then you have television sweeps, which would be February, May, and November. And then you have TV season finale, which is May, and then TV season premiere, September, though it's kind of October now as well, when there's not a Hollywood strike. So I was spending, my time going back and forth, which is ultimately why I ended up buying a house in West Hollywood. But the whole idea of award shows and red carpets and even just celebrity culture has changed so much in that 16, 17 years, I guess it is now. So I've got some thoughts as we head into award show season, because, the ratings are going up for some of them sometimes. But do people just not care anymore? And I'll tell you why people don't care coming up on The Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
JB here on The Scribble, your entertainment guru during award show season. I gotta tell you, there's something that I just don't really miss about doing that. So for our syndicated radio shows back in the day, we would set up on the red carpet and we would do interviews. I guess what you see people doing on TikTok now, but much more in a formal manner. So think about when you watch, Ryan Seacrest or whoever on the red carpet for TV. We were doing the same thing just for audio. So you didn't see me on the red carpet, but I was hosting a show on radio stations that people were listening to all over the country, well, over the world, really. And so back then, the red carpet was very structured, very, I don't want to say formal, but it was very Yeah, formal, but it was very structured. So let me you would kind of get the warning of don't ask them to call your kid or your parent or something. Don't ask. You also really wouldn't even ask for a picture necessarily with them. You would take a picture of them up against the backdrop of the red carpet. But because again, selfies weren't a thing back then when I was doing it in 2009, you didn't really. But again, it wasn't my moment. It wasn't about me meeting fill in the blank, whoever, Goldie Hawn, whoever. I don't know why I was thinking of First Wives. Anyway, I was listening to You Don't Own Me just before the show. But let's just insert celebrity name here, okay? It was great to meet them. So a lot of the pictures on the wall behind me are just of the celebrity because it would be, a picture that I had taken. There are some that I had somebody take of us together. But yeah, selfies wasn't really a thing. But now, fast forward to today, where the red carpet is full of TikTokers and YouTubers who are fanning out, right? It's their moment to meet the celebrity. It's not about the celebrity's moment on the red carpet and their nominations for whatever show it is, or whatever the award is. It's now the TikTokers' moment. It's now them going, oh my God, look who I'm meeting, and then there's the video beforehand of getting ready and on the carpet and whatever. Everything's a behind the scenes look into my life now, and I would take pictures of stuff like that behind the scenes because I was also doing it more so for documenting purposes. Because you would not, again, because we were doing an actual formal broadcast, you never really showed the behind the scenes things because that kind of takes away the magic of it all. I would never record myself on the plane going, okay, I'm flying for the Grammys and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to meet because you just didn't do that as the host, right? I mean, think about just mainstream. So let's say Ryan Seacrest, right? I mean, you wouldn't see him, getting, maybe you would. I don't follow him, but you never did that. It was like the focus was the job in the award show that it is, and you're studying your notes and you're memorizing things and you're getting ready and you're figuring out who are our sponsors. We got to name drop them. We got to do all this other stuff. TikTokers obviously don't necessarily do that, but it's also just changed so much. And now it's not as prestigious to be on a red carpet. Because somebody who's been in the industry for a long time, I look at it and go, ooh, it's just overrun by YouTubers. Like, it's not even, it's people just doing like a quick 30 seconds. It's them fanning out as well, right? Oh my God, I love your album. Oh my God, I love your song. Oh my God, can we do a picture? Can we do a picture? Like, that's the substance that you get on a red carpet now, which is why we kind of stopped doing them towards the end of our radio show. And so that's why I'm not really into them now. But why aren't viewers into it? That's the other big question, right? Why are ratings going down? And I think a big part of that is, and they even make a joke about it at in the monologue at the beginning of the show, and the host will often say, like, there's so many nominees, right? There's so many platforms. When it comes to music, everybody can release music nowadays, right? It's not just the same core artists. You have people that you've never heard of before. And so back when I would be setting up our Emmys coverage or whatever it was, we would have, if you remember Nancy O'Dell from Entertainment Tonight, she would come on the radio with us, and we would, and we had done these so many times that we kind of just had it down, but we would go over the nominees, the snubs, some predictions, kind of her favorite shows. Let's say we're talking about the Emmys. So her favorite shows, who she's looking forward to seeing, what we think the trend is going to be on the red carpet. Is it going to be a certain color? Is it going to be a certain, what are we expecting kind of a thing. And so we would tape, it was about maybe 8 or 10 minutes or so. And we were both very familiar with the shows because you had the typical NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC shows. Those were kind of the biggies. Now you've got Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Paramount, or Max, or whatever the hell it's called now. And it's just so stretched now that, so this was starting to happen in the last couple years of our radio show. So Nancy left Entertainment Tonight. She hasn't been there for years now. But we kind of had to sort of scramble and go, well, we love doing it. And so, who should we get now? So we ended up having somebody from, I think it was Extra. Is Extra still on? Or was it Access? It wasn't Access Hollywood. I think it was Extra. I had never heard of the person before because I just never really paid attention to the show. But that our producers said, oh, we can get one of the hosts or whatever from Extra. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So we had sent them the examples of, Nancy and whoever, these other previous segments that we did. This is the general idea. This is what we're going to talk about. It's very casual. We'll kind of go over the nominees. Obviously, if your entertainment host is covering the Emmys, they are going to be well versed in the, categories and who's in, who's out, and, so I don't have a set list of questions. I don't have, we'll just go with the flow. I personally, by the way, at that time, I had heard of the shows because I had read the nominees, right? The nominees comes out a few months beforehand, or a few weeks. So you've got time to research them or no. I'd never seen a lot of the shows, but I at least had known, of them. And now it's the same thing with actors too, right? There's just so many people. I've never heard of half of the nominees, right? So we get the person from Extra, and we kind of do our little icebreaker kind of a thing. And of course, on these segments, we always make it seem like we're like best buds, that we know each other, whatever. No, this is our first fucking time talking to each other. And it showed. Let me just put it that way. It showed. We didn't have that chemistry. Maybe we should have spent, a good 15 minutes beforehand, just us, before we were on, quote unquote, just, hey, like, let's just, call me, let's kind of get a rapport going, let's get some laughs, let's kind of get a vibe, from each other. We just didn't. Like I said, Nancy O'Dell, it was, I love doing it, because here's the thing. The VP, his name was John at CBS. We would go the formal route, right? Which would be you go through the publicist, whatever. Well, Nancy was on with me all the time that we basically just swapped contact information. So even though I could have just texted her and was like, hey, Grammys are coming up, you want to do a segment like we did before, and I always did so I'd always go through John, the VP guy, and so there was actually one time where I had we set it up, so we did it, and then we went to whatever the next award was that was coming up, the next show. John, the VP guy, said, well, she's actually not doing any interviews or press, and I was kind of like, I wanted to do a Johnny, it's me. It's me. Like, she's just tell her it's me, she'll be. So the one time I did sidestep him, and I reached out to her, just solo on my own, and said, hey, he said you're not doing it. Because I got to get the interview. Sorry, I'm not going to just take no. I'll ask her myself then. And that's exactly what I did. So so she gets on the phone when we actually arranged it. It wasn't like, hey, call me now, let's do it. It was a couple days later. She was very apologetic. And she was just like, yeah, he didn't tell me that I'm not available. And I was kind of like, problem. And so this is when I was really cocky and I really had an ego about myself. After we taped, I then, once we had the show edit ready, I sent it to him, had a great chat with Nancy, by the way. And I was just like, oh, fucking shit. Oh, God. But he was also the... well, I don't know how much name dropping I want to do, but he helped me we had Dr. Phil, like he arranged a bunch of great CBS people. I don't think that he arranged Judge Judy with us. We're going back in the day. No, Judge Judy's rep was somebody else. That was another, her rep invited me to play tennis. I'm sharing too many secrets. I gotta focus. We're talking about award shows. This is what happens though when you've been in this industry, in this business of celebrity entertainment. 20 years of just all these stories that I've never shared or whatever. They're all kind of coming up now. But yes, I maybe did quite a bit of flirting with Judge Judy's rep, who we went back and forth. It took a long time to get her on the radio with us, and it was really cool that we got it. But he was wanting to be social or whatever, and he invited me to play tennis in Malibu. And I strung him along. It was kind of one of those things where it's like, you get me Judy, I'll play tennis. Once we got Judy, I never talked to him again. Okay, focus. My eyes are watering now. All right, so let's get back to Extra here. So we connect on the phone. The publicist is sitting there, listening in. She connects us on the call, and we do our kind of little like icebreaker. We would chit chat for maybe 1 minute, not even, and I'll just say, okay, this is what, we'll talk about the snubs, make your predictions, whatever, and then we're done. Not a big deal. So I didn't necessarily know where we were going from one point to the next, right? Because it might be something that she says that makes me think of something, so then I'll say this, and then it's a conversation. We didn't have a set line of questioning. So that's exactly what happened. She says something, and it makes me think of, oh, wait, there's a show called such and such that's nominated. I'll bring that up. Like, as far as I'm concerned, any show, like I said, we're talking about pretending we're the Emmys. Any show or anything that's nominated should be fair game to talk about. You might not necessarily have to be an expert on it, but at least be aware of it. So we are the first couple, minutes in, we kind of have, oh, it's exciting, it's the award show season and blah, blah, blah. So we get down to it. I mentioned just randomly a show, whatever it was, and she didn't, I haven't seen that one. Okay, well, do you at least kind of know like what it's about? I'm not asking you to give me a breakdown of the last 3 episodes. I'm just, do you know the concept, like the premise of it? Do you know like what it's and she was just bombing. And so I'm sitting here going, all right, well, let's pick another one. Let's move on. Okay, so how about this one then? She hadn't seen that one either. She didn't know anything about it. And so now let me just be clear. I'm not criticizing her in the sense that she's a shitty anchor, she's a shitty entertainment correspondent, whatever. My point is that there's just so many nominees that unless you are really a TV diehard, you haven't seen them all, right? Maybe you will follow the ones that are getting the most buzz because, those are the ones that everybody's talking about, every day at work or whatever it is. But there's a lot of lesser known shows and celebrity nominees that you've never heard of before. So that's, I think, why people, now let me get back to the everyday common person. I think that's maybe what it is, right? Is that you're watching this award show. You haven't heard of half of the people, right? You watch when Taylor. If you're a Taylor Swift fan, you're watching the Grammys because she's nominated, she's performing, and that's what it is. So for the Emmys, again, let's stick with the TV awards. If you've never heard of any of the nominees before, right, and it's not the regular, sitcoms or whatever that would normally be nominated in the past. Well, why would you watch it? Because I'm going to spend 3 hours of my time, 5 hours if you watch the 2-hour red carpet show beforehand. I'm going to spend 3 hours watching this actual award show with people I've never heard of winning awards for shows I've never seen. Why would I tune in for that? Right? Now, there's also the possibility, and it's not a possibility. That's one of the reasons is people will watch things in small doses now, right? You'll watch the viral moments online. You'll watch the clips. You'll watch the TikTok or the Reels or whatever they call it, the YouTube Shorts. That's what you'll watch. You'll watch the viral moment of the acceptance speech or the viral moment of the monologue or the viral moment from the red carpet. But you're like to spend 3 hours of your time, again, 5 if you're including the red carpet. People just don't do that now. Right? Like, it's just not something, and again, if you don't know any of so let's go music now. If you don't know any of the artists nominated, or any of them that are performing, well, what do you care, right? I mean, that you would watch it if you've got nothing else going on that day, or, nothing happening at night. That's really what it is. So yeah, some of them are seeing a rebound in ratings, but I mean, it's just this constant slide. So, like I said, it's the oversaturation of the market and the industry because there's so many TV production companies, movie production companies, record labels. I mean, you don't even have to be part of a record label now to be out there and now with, the Golden Globes and there's a podcast category and you're just kind of like, wait a second, this is all very weird now. How is it? And there's a whole other story about that. Google the whole Golden Globes podcast thing. You'll see there's scandal, there's drama. That's just as delicious. But so I think people just don't care. And secondly, the other thing that you have to remember is that back in the day when we didn't have social media, you had to wait for the red carpet to see what the celebrity was wearing. Now, oftentimes, you're seeing them post the picture from their house in the morning or, just as they're about to step out and go to the event. So you don't even have to really, I don't need to tune into the red carpet to see them. I just saw a video of them at home beforehand. Well, there we go. Done now, right? So, there's a lot of interesting reasons why if if it's lack of interest, if it's just lack of a time commitment, if it's, I just don't know. So, like I said, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you're watching the Grammys, do you need to watch it live? No, because you know what? The performance is going to be on YouTube later. It's going to be on social media later. You can watch it, and it's not appointment viewing anymore. Excuse me, it's not appointment viewing anymore that you have to watch it right now or else you're going to miss it, right? I was watching, speaking of YouTube and streaming, there was it's not a show, I guess. It's one of the accounts that somebody has where they put together like a compilation video and they talk about, well, this one was about must-see TV on NBC back in the day. If you're from the 90s or the early 2000s generation, you know what I'm talking about. Must-see TV, right? Started out Thursday night. You had, I guess it was Seinfeld, Friends, Will and Grace. That was towards the end of it, though. That was later on. But one of the things, or ABC had TGIF. You remember that, right? Full House, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers. That was when you would watch it in the moment. You might have a VCR so that you could tape it and watch it later. But it was something where you would be watching it and then you'd go into work or school or whatever the next day and you'd be talking about it. And so now you don't have to do that, right? It's not appointment viewing. It's not like you've got to watch it now and you miss it. Yeah, I can tape it and watch it in 2 weeks. Yes, again, we've had the opportunity to do that with VCRs for the past 30, 40 years. But you wanted to be in the loop because if people were going to be talking about it at work tomorrow, you didn't want to miss out, or, well, it'd be a spoiler. I don't think we called it a spoiler at the time, but you just wouldn't wait. You would not wait to watch something like that. And so that's kind of what happened with must-see TV. It kind of went by the wayside of streaming services where, it's not like we've got to be watching Friends on Thursday night. I can watch it Friday night. I can watch it Saturday night, And people don't have that investment. There's not that emotional attachment anymore. I remember specifically Will and Grace or Married with Children or, from the gay community, Queer as Folk. That was a big one. We would wait for that show to come on. And I think it was it Saturday nights? Sunday nights? I can't remember. But that was, again, you just had these shows that you would then be talking with everybody about. Survivor was kind of like at the beginning when it first started. American Idol certainly was. I remember coming back from, we had a family anniversary party out of the city, and we were driving back. And I remember even on a Sunday night, well, no, I think it was a Wednesday night. The finales weren't always on I think it was it during the week? No, it would have been a Sunday night. And I remember the radio was on, and they were talking about it on the radio on a Sunday night, that people were having Survivor parties, and, it's just starting now, or it's halfway through, and it's, what do you think of the show so far? First of all, to have an on-air radio host on a Sunday night, we don't really have that nowadays, but certainly, to be talking about that, and you'd have I had my parents, turn down the radio because I didn't want to know who won, right, if they start talking about what was going on. But it was appointment television. It was appointment viewing. You had to kind of watch it in the moment. So award shows now, I don't think that people give a shit. It's just not, you don't have that emotional connection. And then the other thing too, though, is, so let's go back to music then. So Taylor Swift is going to be nominated for, let's say, a song that was put out over a year ago. Well, she's had how many more hits since then, right? You're kind of over that song already because you've heard it so much, you've seen her perform it so many times, it's just kind of like, right? Different story, though, when the only time you could hear them was on the radio or on MTV when you'd see the videos, right? You were limited into your exposure to those songs. So it was interesting. It was unique because it's like, oh my God, I'm going to get to see her perform live. You didn't have the luxury of just pulling up YouTube and seeing her performance in London, in San Francisco, in Miami, in Dubai, in wherever, Florence, Italy, Australia. You didn't have that. But now you've seen Taylor perform that song. Anybody who's gone to her concert has posted at least a 10-second clip of her performing it on their Instagram page or TikTok, whatever it is. You've seen it on YouTube in how many different cities? So what's one more time of seeing her doing it on the Grammys? Maybe you'll tune into it because you want to see what she's wearing or something. Okay, fine. But just whatever, I've seen her perform on how many TV shows? She's done that, okay, we've got it. And so for the song that she's nominated for now, that's 6 singles ago, 5 singles ago, 4 singles, 2 albums ago even maybe. And so you're over that song. You're kind of like, well, wait a second. She's already moved on, but yet we're going back in time and celebrating. Same thing with a movie. I watched the movie one time last February, and now now this March, it's getting an award. Well, why the fuck do I care a year later? That actor's made 2 more movies since then, right? I mean, like, whatever. Or for the Emmys, half the time the show's already been canceled. So it's winning an award, Stephen Colbert, and it's canceled. So so you go out winning, great, but you're a loser because you were canceled, right? I mean, that happened a couple times. I think was it Ricky Lake? I'm trying to think of one of my peeps that their show was canceled, and then all of a sudden they're nominated afterward, or they win it after their show's already off the air. Like, what's the point? Haha, I won an Emmy. Yeah, but you were canceled. Does that take away from the win? Anyway, send me an email live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. More on the Scribble right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here on The Scribble. Let me just circle back to that story I was telling about the extra news or entertainment anchor or correspondent, whoever the fuck she was. It was a really bad segment, and we never did any of those things live, so it's not like it was just so we could edit, we could always clean it up. I don't even think that we did anything with it, because there was a part of me, this is the funny thing, I do remember distinctly having the conversation with one of our producers, it might have been Bonnie Winters, where I said, "What? Let's just run this as it is. Like she's the one who looks like a bonehead. She's the one who's making her own show look stupid because she doesn't know about the nominees." And then we had the discussion of like, well, it's also going to look bad for us that we booked somebody like that. Why would we bring on somebody clueless, right? Like they don't know her from a hole in the ground. Half the people probably had never heard of her before. But it's my show and people know who I am, so I'm inviting you into my house. Why am I inviting over a terrible guest, right? So we ended up... I'm trying to think... Yeah, I think there was a conversation with the publicist after where she kind of expressed that the anchor or host, whoever she was, was embarrassed and then kind of just sort of gave the excuse about, didn't really quite understand, or she wasn't. No, we sent you how many links of examples to what we're doing. So if you didn't send them to her, that's on you. If she went into it blind, that's you being a bad publicist and not setting up your client or your talent for you're putting them out there. I mean, you threw them under the bus is what you did. But I don't know if we did them ever again after that, come to think of it. I think that we had Nancy O'Dell. Like, we had a few kind of key people. We had Jason Kennedy from E! We had a bunch of them. Juliana Rancic, I think we had a bunch of, we had some key people that we would mostly go to them though when there was a celebrity death. I remember we had, like Kobe Bryant. We had, Aretha Franklin. Yeah, we did somebody. That's right. They're telling me a bunch of the different ones that we had. Anyway, so that's what happened. Was we had this correspondent who wasn't familiar with the nominees, the awards, or anything, but that's also my point though, is there somebody who's paid to follow this kind of stuff can't even keep track because there's just so many, right? Like, think about that back in the day. Now, if you're of a certain age, you remember getting TV Guide, and there would be the list of nominees, and you would even maybe, there was like a checklist kind of a thing where you could make your own predictions or whatever it was. You heard of almost every one of those TV shows. Now, whether you watched them or not, you at least had heard of them back in the day. And that's the big distinction. That's the big change nowadays. Because there's just so many options, right? So, anyway, send me your thoughts about awards shows. So again, it's these, it's rich people patting themselves on the back. It's stuff for, movies or music or shows that were out a year ago that you've already long forgotten about. The length of them, do you really want to spend 3 hours watching it? Is it now just a big political soapbox for people to go on rants? Everything's about politics nowadays. Send me an email. That email address is live, live, at jbonair.com. Live at jbonair.com. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye for now, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real